in the Maimer, which we're learning now, Btach B'Shem V'asei Tov, 1942, and we are on top of page 152, in which the Rebbe says over here in the Maimer that there's another Chazal Tuvya. Shalom. It says, Istakel b'shleisha vorim. Gaze at three things. Ve'ein ata bali de aveda. If you will gaze, if you will look at these three things and you'll think about them, you'll never do a sin. Really? Well, before I can analyze what the three things are, why does it say Istakel? That's very unusual language in Hebrew. What should have said? Tireh, roeh, right? Re'iyah. That's the conventional word for looking at something. Observe these three things and you will avoid sin. It doesn't say in Pirkei Avos, re'eh, ra'ah, tireh. Rather it says what? It says histakel. Histakel. Gaze. So the Rebbe says, because this goes in unison with what we just said, the interpretation of Ezel Chacham Arayas Anaylet. Ezel Chacham Arayas Anaylet means focus on the idea, the Chacham. Ezel Chacham, Chachma, Re'iyah. So we're talking about a particular focus. Gazing means mind focus. That's what gazing means. Mind focus. And when you have the mind focus, then things will be crystal clear to you. Let's continue now, 152, on top of the page. In middle of the line. V'oz, hine...
Rabbi, can you just say the Lilul Nishmat for this year, Rabbi?
Yeah, Lilul Nishmat. Go ahead.
Rivka Miriam Bas Rav Michael from Los Angeles.
Rivka Miriam Bas Rav Michael. This is for her neshama shehav an aliyah. Hello?
Amen.
Okay. We got to get back to the text because you just threw me off. Okay, but the neshama shehav an aliyah, neshama shehav Chaim shehav an aliyah, through our learning, it was dedicated to her neshama. V'oz hinei yefsher lo b'shum oifin. When a person, Moshe, is at this level, when a person engages in this activity, I don't want it to sound like this is only for, flutin' tootin' great tzaddikim. He's talking to us. When we learn Chasidus, it's talking to us in Bet Shemesh in 2020. You got it? It's talking to us today. So he says, V'oz, hini efsher lo b'shum oifen lahosir machshavtoi. When you are in this mode, Tuvia, of gazing at God and godliness and creation and Creator, it is impossible. Efshar. It is impossible, b'shum oifen, in any way, shape, or form, lahosir machshavtoi, to remove your thought, v'chol hamidos, and all the emotions me'inyan ha'achdus, from the idea of achdus. What does that mean? That means like this. Now listen with your mind. This is a very important idea. The Alter Rebbe in chapter 18 of Tanya talks about an individual who he labels Kal Shebekalim, the most lenient of all lenient people, meaning someone who really, and excuse the expression, but just in simple English, just to make the point, he don't give a damn about anything, okay? Nothing fathoms him. He does what he wants to do. I want to indulge, I indulge. I want to be holy, I'm holy. There's no discipline in his life. We call such an individual Kal Shebekalim, right? What's a Kal, Boaz? Someone who's lenient. He's always looking for the heter. He's looking for a way out. It's Kal Judaism. It's heter Yiddishkeit. How can I get a heter to leave the television on so I can see the Super Bowl game? How can I get a heter for my company to be open on Shabbos and make money? How can I get a heter to eat something that I really should be more careful about not eating? It's all about heter, the heter game. And unfortunately, we have a lot of people that are into the heter game. I don't care how long their beard is or how short their beard is. Their mindset is heter orientation. Okay? So, the Torah in Chazal call an individual like this a kal. And that's why you should know there were Rabbanim. I knew a Rav like that in San Francisco when I was there, and then in Los Angeles. They knew Shas. They knew the Talmud. They came from Slobodka. They came, they were proficient. But they was such a kal. They were so lenient, and they made Gerim and Gittin that no normal Rav would accept and do. Okay? And for whatever reason, good or bad, people used them because they weren't going to take the responsibility of making someone a ger when they didn't feel they're really ready to be a ger. But this rabbi was taking the responsibility, and he's officially an Orthodox rabbi, and he has smicha officially, and he's part of the RCA or this organization. So I'm not going to say that the more machmir rabbis in all of these towns didn't rely on the more kal rabbis. That's a whole other story. If you're so frum, how can you rely on a more kal rabbi? Oh, he's good for you when you need him. He's good for you when you need him. When you don't need him, he's the worst charlatan and faker, and it's outrageous, and throw him out of town. But when you need to convert someone, and you don't want to do it because you're going to feel so guilty because you know that they're not ready for conversion yet, you don't believe they're really Jewish, right? So what do? You say, go to such and such rabbi, and he'll take care of you, he'll help you. And for a few bucks and a few hours, you get a zettel, you get a note, you're Jewish, and a dunk in the mikveh, out you come, you're Jewish, right? A kal, a lenient person. Yeah, right, a kal. Says the Alter Rebbe. Listen to this. Look at what kind of special. Listen to what kind of special Rebbe this was. Special Jew the Alter Rebbe was, and why Chabad Chasidus for 200 years is not just surviving but thriving. Why? Because of its principles, values, and philosophy. It's not because of the cake it eats and the signs it carries. It's not because of that. It's because of philosophy of Lubavitch, of Chabad, as the Alter Rebbe said it. As the founder is rich and genuine and important for the continuation of Yiddishkeit, Torah Judaism, Slobodka Judaism, Panovich Judaism, Lakewood Judaism, Mir Judaism. Okay? What does the Alter Rebbe say in chapter 18? You guys learned the Chitas. What does he say? He says there that akal shebekalim efsher lo'lichboir b'Hashem. He cannot deny the oneness of God. He can't deny God. And his language there is efshar lichbor. He cannot deny. He doesn't say he does not deny. He says even if he wanted to deny, he can't. That is a most fascinating statement that only a person like the Alter Rebbe can make about a Jew. Why? Because it's the truth. If you dig down, deep down in the Jew's heart, you will find that golden, precious neshama who says, I am yours, God. Yeah, before you dig down, outwardly, there's a lot of schmutz and a lot of sand and a lot of stones, until you get to the treasure way down in the ground. It's a lot of work. But at the end of the day, that's who the person is. The person isn't the cover-up, the sand, the rocks, the schmutz. The real Jew is the neshama that's in there, which we call Maminim B'nei Maminim, says the Alter Rebbe in chapter Yud Ches. Even a Jew, even a Jew who's a kal shebekalim, he's so lightweight in his attitude towards God in Torah and mitzvahs that other kalim, that other lightweights say about him, you're a kal. That's how lightweight he is. For a heavyweight to say about a lightweight, you're a lightweight, is no big deal. But imagine there are a bunch of lightweights in the room, and they all turn around to one particular lightweight and they say, you're such a kal. Well, wait a minute. But you guys who are saying it are also lightweight kalim. Yeah, but not as much as you. You're beyond the pale. You know, what you're doing is, we wouldn't do it. That's what kind of kal. Kal shebe kalim. And notwithstanding what type of kal, this is interpretation I heard from one of my teachers. I never heard otherwise, and I'm sure you never did. It's a beautiful interpretation. Kal shebe kalim. Says the Alter Rebbe in chapter Yud Ches in Perek Chai in Tanya, Chai for Chayas, life. Even a Kal Shebekalim has an neshama that cannot, even if he wanted to, deny God. Now, when you think about this, and when we learn here, why am I saying this? Because the top line says, when you have re'iyah, when you have the gazing experience of godliness, look at the words, Moshe. It is impossible for this individual, b'shum ofen, in any way, shape, or form, lahosir machshavtoi, to remove his thought, v'chol amidas, and all of his emotions, me'inyan achdus, from the topic of unity. You can't help yourself. Wherever you go and whatever you do, regardless, one thing and only one thing is on your mind. Achdus Hashem. Do I find unity? So Hillel goes to New Mexico. He's going for a conference. He's going for there. He's on top of a mountain. He's down in a low valley. Someone else is going to the Grand Canyon. And another person is going to Dubai. Wherever you are, there's only one thing that's in your mind. Achdus. Can I find Achdus here? Or better said, how do I find Achdus Hashem here? Everything is about Achdus. That's the answer. That's the Chabad answer in Chabad language. The Chabad language, it's about Achdus. And if we cannot point to Achdus Hashem in what we're doing and where we're doing it, we better check ourselves out and get moving. So you could go to the Grand Canyon, and you can go to New Mexico, and you can go to China, and you can go here and there and everywhere. But make it an Achdus experience. Spiritualize the experience. When you do that, it's impossible for you to deny God. You hear what I'm saying? So it's not only Sholem, I don't deny God because I learned in halacha so, I had a rabbi who said so. That's all being imposed on you, on your mind, on your heart, on your behavior. And that's wonderful and important, right? Because the bottom line is, did you put tefillin on today in the morning or not? I don't want to know about what kavanah you had. I need to know, did you put the tefillin on? You put them on. You did the mitzvah. Now, let's see how you did the mitzvah, how you can improve it, how you can enhance it. Yes, Boaz.
So is this saying that there's no such thing as a Jew who denies God? That's
Yes. Yes.
No such thing.
Yeah. Now, the Rebbe, the Rebbe in the 1943-44 wrote a long essay on this idea and how you reconcile this idea with the many statements in Chazal that says someone who doesn't do this doesn't have a chelik in Olam Haba. So I encourage you, if you want to really pursue it, to read that essay. And I think today it might even be in English as well. But yes, the Alter Rebbe believes that the real Yid, the real Jew, in other words, like this. Can he logically, Boaz, right, but Boaz, listen, what the Alter Rebbe is saying is like this, that whether or not consciously and logically the person can deny God, the answer is yes. But the truth and deep down is that really who the Jew is cannot deny God, because it's an oxymoron. The soul, the neshama, is chelik elokah mimal Yehuda. The soul is a divine part of Hashem. So if the soul, Moshe, is a divine part of Hashem, how can a divine part of Hashem go against Hashem? It's tantamount to the same idea. Can God create a rock that he himself can't pick up? You've heard that philosophical idea, and the answer is it makes no sense. If he's God, he can do anything. If he's not God, then what's the question? So you can't say I have two gods. That's, God forbid, heresy. There's only one God. So what do you mean? Can he make a rock that he himself can't pick up? If he makes it, he can pick it up. And if he can't pick it up, he's not God. So it's a contradiction. We call that an oxymoron. So too, if you say that the neshama is a chelik elokah mima'al, like we learned in chapter 2 in Tanya, from Eov, right? From Job. It's not the Alter Rebbe's novelty. It says already earlier, especially in Kabbalah's forum, right? So if you accept that, and the Torah does accept that, and that's who the Jew is, how can you say that my soul shall go against what it is? If it's a soul, it's God, and if it's not God, it's not a soul. That's why Boaz, I hope you hear this. So that's what the Alter Rebbe says that a Kal Shebekalim cannot deny existence of God, because guess what? That's the inherent makeup of every Jew, including a Kal Shebekalim. You say, but outwardly he does deny God sometimes through his activity and behavior and feelings and beliefs and all that. That's only the outer part of the person, the mind, the heart, but not the essence. Yes, Yoni.
Okay, so my question is basically to piggyback on Boaz's question, but to expound on his question, what about, we know that in the Torah there's certain exceptions, like Yoshki is an exception. Today you could say George Soros may be an exception. There are Yidden. Nobody said Yoshki wasn't a Yid except for the Christians, but he was a Yid, right? So does he still have a chelik,
Yes.
Man?
Even Yoshki and anybody else, everyone has a chelik. No one is in the business and able to pull out a Jew's soul. We did not put it there, and we can't take it out. And anyone who thinks they can, the Rebbe already in the 1980s stormed against certain rabbis, not far from where you guys live, who tried ousting certain Jews from the Jewish community, and said that the reason the Holocaust came is because there was great assimilation in Europe. And the Rebbe spoke, and I heard it from his own mouth. He was adamant, and he brought sources in Chassam Sofer, in the earlier writings where it says contrary to that. But I'm going back to the Baal HaTanya, and I'm telling you that the Baal HaTanya goes back to earlier writings. So the answer is, Yoni, yes, the person who is a troublemaker needs reward, will get reward and punishment, will get punishment. No one is contradicting that, but that's not the essence. So in other words, like this, it's like, for your misbehavior, you go to jail, you get a punishment. But it doesn't mean to say that you are not a Jew. It doesn't mean to say that you have no hope on the deepest level. If we could reach that deepest level of the Jew, and the Jew will do such a tshuva, which is called from great love, as he says in chapter 7 in Tanya, at length what that means, then there is atonement for everything. Atonement for everything is from God's perspective. In human behavior and on earth, you got to be locked up, and you will be locked up. So it's two different things. What you're addressing, Yoni, is the human side, and I agree with you there. What I'm addressing, and what we're learning in Chasidus, is the godly side. And to say that the human side overrides the godly side, I'm sorry to say, is also heresy. Who are we to say that? And philosophically, it's wrong. Because if the essence of the person is the neshama, again, if you don't accept that the essence of the person is the soul, like Plato and Aristotle didn't accept it, then no problem. Then it's only body. You're here for a certain amount of years. You behave a certain way, you get a reward. You behave another way, you get a punishment, and life goes on, and finished. Next piece of meat. One piece of meat, another piece of meat, and we go on. Comes along Chasidus and says, it's not about a piece of meat. This is a neshama. This is something entirely different. And look, let's look at the facts. We look around the world. I don't care if it's Litvak, Sephardic, Hasidic. How many Bali Tshuva, if not for this attitude of the Alter Rebbe, wouldn't be here today, wouldn't have children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. I mean, so the facts on the ground are like what the Alter Rebbe is saying. It's only because the guy at Eish Torah, I don't care, he's not a chassid, but the guy at Eish Torah who was brought in by Rabbi Weinberg and his people, and he came because of 48 reasons of happiness, or he came because of some other reason, right? And he comes, or the ger, the known ger in Tzvat, the Lubavitcher ger, who was dating a Goyish girl in Australia, and wanted to marry her, and she turns, a Jewish girl, and says to him, I can't marry you. I'm a Jew, and you're not. He says, what does that mean? So he starts finding out what it means to be a Jew. And he learns, he's bright, and he studies. Ooh. And then she says, I'm sorry, we have to break up. This is not going in a good direction. And he's shook up about the breakup. He loves her, he likes her, he wants to marry her. Sorry, I'm a Jew and you're not. He goes back and he says, what does it mean to be a Jew? And he discovers that his mother was actually an Asufi. An Asufi means someone who was left at a doorstep and no one knows who the parents are.
Wow.
And halachically, it's a very complicated shaila of mamzerus. Maybe they're Jewish, maybe they're not. So we have a law following the Reiv, the majority. And out in Australia, in that time, in the 30s or 40s, whenever it was, 20s, 30s or whatever, you didn't have many Jews in those areas. So the rabbis ruled that it could be Jewish, but she needs a conversion, and he needs a conversion, so she's not interested. So she remains a goy. He now wants to become a Jew. He becomes a Jew, and he becomes a real Yid, and he becomes a Talmud Chacham, and he converts after 7 years because they put him through hell to prove that he really wants to be a Jew. It's not a mom and pop Sears or Roebuck, conversion ger. You buy it for a few bucks. This is real stuff. 7 years of learning and davening and proving you really want to be a Jew. You need this big headache. Shabbos, you don't turn on lights and this and that. And he says yes, and he learns, and he becomes a star, and he's maybe knows Shas, and he knows Chasidus, he knows Kabbalah, and he's a teacher, and he led a Baal Tshuva yeshiva for many years, right? All of that is only because of one thing, because we believed in the neshama. If you wouldn't believe in the neshama, you wouldn't give the person a second chance any time of the day. And this is what the Alter Rebbe is saying over here. The Alter Rebbe is saying, that the Frierdiker Rebbe is saying here. So when you're visiting, you're going on vacation somewhere, and you think you have to ask yourself, am I exploring and finding achdus here? If not, I gotta do it. In other words, I can't feel comfortable in my vacation or in my, Yehuda said a few months ago, whatever, he was in New York. He went to New York, he went to the Rebbe, he went to 770. Great. You have to ask yourself in 770, do I find achdus here? Am I? Not my guy next door, and not the people dancing, not the people davening. Do I find achdus now, today? We're in Koilel today. Sunday we'll be back in Hashem. Every experience is a new experience, and the barometer is one idea: Achdus Hashem. That's what he says here. And someone who is in the mode of Achdus, all of his actions and his ideas, Davuk, are attached by Yisbarach to God Almighty, Bteikus niflo mipnei hayoser royas habelach beinov, with tremendous Dveikus. Hila, we're looking for Dveikus.
We sure.
Yes. When do you get Dveikus? When you see the king with your eyes. It's so crystal clear to you that you see with your eyes. Again, mind's eye. That's when you have Dveikus. And Dveikus is not, is not shuckling. is not screaming, is not talking. Dveikus is a very deep inner feeling where I'm glued. I can't disattach myself. I'm stuck. I'm stuck to God. Not stuck in a negative way. I have this such a love for Hashem that I'm medubak. I am glued to Hashem. That's a very different experience. And that only comes when after you meditate, you understand, you meditate, you think, and you come, you say, it's clear to me that this is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And this is something we need to work on. This doesn't come again from pizza and ice cream and popcorn and the Super Bowl. It doesn't, it never has, and it never will. It never will. And beer. It never will, okay? I don't care how long the beard is and how shas you know and dafa yoimi. It doesn't come from that. It comes from schwitz. It comes from effort. It comes from a lot of work, a lot of hardship. And then when you experience that, and I don't mean, God forbid, to look for negativity and look for, problems. No, but working on yourself and refining yourself, then you could come to Dveikus, where you feel, without coming to shul, I feel empty. It's like I didn't put on my pants in the morning. It's like I didn't eat today. I'm starving. A fast day, you're starving, right? One day, not being in shul, if you're able to go to shul, you're feeling fine. And one day not learning, and one day visiting someone, not there helping, and making a phone call. How can I help you? How are you feeling? You say, my day is not the same. That's the E-F-Shar. Remember this idea. E-F-Shar loy b'shum oifen lohoser machshavtoi. The first line we learned today. It is impossible for me in any way, shape, or form to remove my mind and my heart from the unity of God. That's the barometer. If you want to know if you're in love with God, if you really are in Dveikus, that's the question you have to ask yourself. Can I really say to myself, I cannot separate from you, God? Or I could say, listen, I can separate myself from you, God, but I like you, you make me comfortable, so I'll hang out with you. Shlomo Melech talks about love sickness in Shir Hashirim, right? What's the love sickness? The man can't have, he's sick because he doesn't have his lover. That deep feeling of love overwhelms the person, but healthy, not an infatuated, crazy, unhealthy relationship. That is horrible for who you are and what you can be and what you won't be if you engage in this narcissistic, so-called false love. It's Narishkeit. Okay? It's only temporary. And sometimes they're not there yet, and they only see what's in front of their eyes. They're narcissistic. They're ego-driven. They're infatuated, and on and on and on. That's why we have mental health issues that are so rampant today in our own communities that we can probably use a psychiatrist, psychologist, and social worker on every block, at least one. Because it's bonkers. Why? When my grandmother and grandparents came from the shtetl in Europe, you don't think they had mishigoyim? You don't think they had issues? But somehow, I don't know how, but it all went together, and the world, today it's gone to areas which is causing a lot of problems. Yes, Hillel, let's go back. Yes.
I just wanted to comment that I saw in the Nesiva Shalom this morning a piece where he uses a very similar idea to explain the pasuk and the first case in Parshas Mishpatim of the Eved Ivri, and at the end of 7 years, he says seven is a bechina of Shabbos, which is a bechina of Ava, which is a quality of love that's supposed to raise you up so that you have love of God, and you see that all love is related to God. But if he still says, "Ani ohev es Adoni," I love my master, but I also love my wife, and I also love all these other things. He still hasn't really gotten to the makor of love and where Shabbos can take him. So that's why he has to have yet another round. And it says La'olam, he'll be a slave La'olam, but it's not really La'olam. It's still a Yovel, because the Yovel is the next deeper quality of Shabbos. That he'll 7 times 7. It was a related idea.
Beautiful, beautiful. You know, the Rishonim say you can't have Olam Haza and Olam Haba together. You got to make your choice. You want this world or you want that world? Now, so how do you reconcile that with Torah, Gedula, B'mokem Echad? It says having greatness in Torah and having Gedula, meaning, wealth in one place. How do you reconcile these two ideas? The answer is, it's not about the quantity, it's the quality. In other words, what's your mindset? If your mindset is worldly matter, that's your mindset. If your mindset is godly matter, that's your mindset. So it's not about what you have or what you don't have. It's the attitude and what's behind what you have or you don't have. Let's continue another few minutes. So he says, that's why the rabbis say in Pirkei Avos, gaze. You should look and see. And if you'll have that gazing and clarity of God, you will not come to do a sin. And he says like this, the purpose, the intent of this chazal is not that only that this gazing will protect you, that you won't come to do a sin. He says here a much deeper thing. There is, bottom line, don't do the sin. Just like I told you before, bottom line, did you put on tefillin today or not? Now talk about it in the other way. Not doing the sin. I didn't do the sin because I was paid, I was bribed. I didn't do the sin because my kids are going to say, Abba, you're such a faker, you're a hypocrite, so I didn't do it. That's the bottom line. The bottom line is, I didn't do it. Says the Rebbe, if you're really Dveikus in God, Samach, you hear this? If you really love Hashem, and you're really bound to Hashem, and you're really connected to Hashem, not only don't you do the sin, bottom line, you don't even desecrate God's will, the spirit of the sin. That's why it says, Ve'enat haba Moshe lidei aveira. What do you mean, the handles of an aveira? It should have said, Yehuda, Ve'enat haba la'aveira. Right? Pirkei Avos. Moshe, you learned Pirkei Avos. Histake b'shleisha dvarim. Look at 3 things. Where you come from, where you're going to, and the cheshbon you'll have to give. And if you do those 3 things, you won't commit a sin. It doesn't say that. It says you won't commit the handle, lidei, yodayim, the handle of a sin. What is that referring to? So we have the interpretation of the commentators, but the way Chasidus sees it again is that it means you won't come to violate the spirit of the law. Ritzoyna yizborich. It's fashionable today, Yoni, to do what's right because there are cameras all over. It used to be when the Chabadniks went into Williamsburg, they can beat them and they can throw them and they can throw eggs at them, but no longer because we got cameras shooting down at you from the right and left and the center. And you're going to be caught next day. You're going to be in jail or you're going to be in trouble. So watch your hentalach. Watch those hands. Keep them to yourself. Guess what? Watch what you say. Everything's recorded. I can be recording you. You could be recording me now. And the next day goes out. Rabbi Dalfin said this and Yehuda said that and Moshe said this and it's a free-for-all. It's a whole different world. Ve'enat haba lidei aveira, says the Rebbe here, is that not only don't you do the actual violation, but you watch yourself from the spirit of the violation. Avram Twersky, the stepfather of the rabbi in the shul, has a famous line. I always love repeating it. He writes it in one of his early books. He says that when he grew up, his father, who was a Hasidic Rebbe, known as the Hornsteipler Rebbe, the father taught him, and he said, when he was doing something that was, not appropriate, he would say, es passt nicht. That's Yiddish. Es passt nicht. It's not befitting. In English, it's not befitting. You know what family you come from. You know what you are. It's just not. Now, I'm not going to go in now because this is, chinuch and yes, no, but the idea, es passt means the spirit. It's not about, have I violated or have I not violated? Again, bottom line, as far as the chart with the brownie points, check or X, it's about did you put on film or did you not commit a sin? But the spirit of the law is where Dveikus comes in. So if you have a question, I'm davening and I'm learning, and I'm not doing Averis, and I still don't have this Dveikus, you have to look at a different area, not look at bottom line. The bottom line is not going to give you the Dveikus. The Dveikus comes from the spirit, the what's beyond the observable. The deeper aspect of your being. What's that? The will, the Ratzon. Who am I? Who am I? That's what we're learning over here. We'll continue, Mitzvah Shem, on yes, on Sunday. Yes.
The best analogy that comes to mind.
Yes.
You can go to 13th Avenue an hour before Yom Tov on Sukkot and buy yourself a $5 set of, Sreigim and Lulav and all your whole set, Arba Minim. Or you can buy from Kfar Chabad and spend a nice chunk of money. They're both kosher, but it's the spirit.
Okay, if you have those funds, yes, but sometimes people don't have those funds, and so you're right. It's the spirit. It's the spirit. Are you trying to get away with doing a mitzvah or not doing an avera in a very easy way, or are you looking for deeper? And that's what he says over here. That this is the idea of the Dveikus. And I think, Hillel, if you think about this as you daven and learn and you grow and we see that this is really what determines what level a person's at and who is the person and who do we respect, is the spirit there. Guys, have a great Shabbos. It's Shabbos Mevarchim. I think it's Shabbos Shkolim. And get ready for Purim because we're going to rock and roll down with a Mashiach. L'chaim.
All right.